What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the internet where your cesspool is my jacuzzi. If you're here, then you've probably been following my coverage of the Laura Owens versus Clayton Echard paternity scandal case. When Laura Owens took this story to the public, it unearthed a nearly decade-long history of false allegations of abuse and paternity made by Owens against men who rejected her. I've covered that extensively, but Laura Owens has also made a habit of harassing random citizens with legal threats. She's now harassing PS Creative, a local studio. I'm limited in what I can tell you about those complaints for now, but I'm going to share what I can and then explain how this ties into a larger picture of why the county attorney needs to charge Laura Owens and why legal action is the only proper response to this behavior. Because a psych ward sure as hell isn't going to fix this. Laura Owens and her attorney David Gingras recently went to PS Creative in Scottsdale to record a video they would later publish to tell some of Laura's side of this saga. But that video was never released. David has posted other videos, but none from the studio recording to my knowledge. People saw the name of the studio on mugs and studio artwork in a photo that was posted by David, and the studio was tagged in a JFC Instagram post. Some supporters then reached out via DMs. It's important to note that the studio did not have any knowledge of Laura Owens' background or history. They're simply trying to run a business. The studio requested not to be involved in any capacity and put out a statement. JFC then issued their own statement asking people to leave the studio alone. The studio thought that the matter was over at that point. However, they received a threatening email from Laura's attorney and had to block their email accounts. Laura then escalated the matter with complaints to the Attorney General and Better Business Bureau. Laura was provided with the footage from the studio, but claims the files aren't usable and wants a refund. Her lawyer posted that Laura would be editing the footage, so it's my personal speculation that she may just not know how to properly edit the files. She did not pay the studio for their editing service. Regardless, the studio gave Laura what she paid for. In my opinion, it seems that Laura became upset about the communication with JFC and is now using complaints to harass and punish the studio. The studio fulfilled their obligations and did nothing wrong, yet they have now become a target of Laura's games. The studio has every right not to work with Laura further, especially if there's an ongoing legal matter. They don't really even need that excuse. I don't know what their specific reasons were, but I know they're well within their rights. I lived in Arizona. I know this. If a bakery doesn't have to make me a gay cake, and why would I even want to make them do that if they weren't into it, then a studio doesn't have to work with a con artist. Assholes are not a protected class in this country. Now, this all ties into a larger issue at hand regarding the county attorney investigation and Laura and David's criticism of the JFC community. There are people who dislike and don't believe Laura who strongly dislike the various JFC social media platforms. Personally, I'm a fan, but what I'm trying to say is we're not all the same. This is not a cult. This is the general public response to Laura Owens' behavior. And until they recognize and respect that the public has a right to be upset over her actions, which have hurt innocent people and abused the public resources we all depend on, then they will get nowhere in this quest to rehabilitate Laura's image. And yes, I mean everyone. This transcended the state of Arizona the second Laura Owens started abusing the reporting system of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. It's bad enough to make false abuse allegations and make a fucking TEDx talk about it. It becomes even more harmful when you make random and completely false allegations of SA against the opposing party's counsel in the middle of a court case in which you were already falsely accusing Greg Gillespie of somehow impregnating you by finishing on your back. Laura's false accusations of abuse and assault are offensive to everyone who has actually suffered through these horrible things. It's offensive to anyone who has been falsely accused or has a loved one who has been falsely accused. It makes it harder for people to come forward when they're actually abused. And now, in addition to that bullshit, Laura is doing this to a small business. She sends cease and desist to random people when they say things she doesn't like. She calls police in other states during the holidays to punish people for daring to say things that she didn't like. So I don't actually give much of a shit about Laura's appeal, other than possibly feeling bad for Clayton if she wins the appeal. Winning the appeal would not mean she didn't lie. It wouldn't mean she was ever pregnant. It wouldn't mean she didn't take up a high-risk OBGYN appointment knowing she wasn't pregnant, and that someone who actually was pregnant might need that appointment. It wouldn't mean that she didn't scare people with suicidal threats when, in my opinion, she used this as a manipulation tactic and was never going to harm herself. You can see this in the police body cam footage, which her lawyer has accused content creators of calling in to make money. If someone tries to shame people for doing the right thing and calling for help during someone's self-declared mental health crisis, then that person is just an absolute dick. Whoever called for the wellness checks did what David Gingras should have done instead of publishing his client's thoughts relating to suicide on his blog. Nobody called to make content. I still don't even know how to make requests for body cam footage, and I've never uploaded any myself. Despite David's accusations, nobody laughed at her because it was a prank or because they called in to make content out of it. Nobody laughed at her because she was in distress. When the publicly available footage came out, I laughed because she got caught abusing the reporting system and the FBI had to send police to her house. I laughed because they knew she was full of shit. And yeah, that was nice to see. I laughed because it was ridiculous, and if you don't laugh, it's just sad and infuriating that Laura Owens abuses the system this way. So I did what many of us do, and tried to find some lightheartedness in what would otherwise just be upsetting behavior by Laura Owens. And you can clearly see in some of the other body cam footage that I was angry at the police when they didn't do their job to make sure she was okay, because that's what they were supposed to be doing. None of that has anything to do with laughing at Laura because she's struggling or because she's in pain. Absolutely none of it. Laura Owens abused the YouTube copyright reporting system by trying to have several of my videos removed for copyright due to fair use of her image in many of my thumbnails. She really hates when I use that photo of her in the red sweater. So I did what I always do. Tried to bring a little light to a shitty situation. I used a photoshopped image of my own face on the red sweater photo. And on Halloween, I wore a red turtleneck and a brown wig. I did that not to make fun of her appearance, but to create some humor in response to more very bad behavior by Laura that was targeted at me. I've been outspoken about how inappropriate it is to criticize Laura's appearance, and I've been supportive of her having a life and focusing on her horses and leaving her victims alone. Of course, Laura can't just leave anything alone. As long as she can get away with it, she won't. She's been allowed to use threats and abuse the legal system with impunity for so long. When she tried and failed twice to false copyright strike me, her lawyer, the only person on earth who cannot see through her lies based on evidence, got involved. Now, as we know, David has agreed to go on Reality Steve's podcast and listen to all of this evidence, listen to the things that he has refused to listen to up to this point. He won't comment on it, but he would listen to it. That's a different story we can talk about another time, but I believe Steve's trying to do the right thing. Despite my defense of David's client when people are unnecessarily critical and my encouragement for people to listen to David on his own channel and hear him out, David decided to pursue legal action against me by issuing a copyright strike on my fair use, non-monetized video, which was a review and commentary of his video. The content was significantly transformed as my video was 2.5 hours of discussion and his video was only 45 minutes long. I mean, I rambled so much that it bothered people, and they didn't want to watch it, and I provided a link for them to watch it at the original source. I also skipped parts of the video that I did not feel were relevant to case commentary. I had a choice to accept the strike, take a course on YouTube, and just have it taken off my record. Yeah, I could have done that. But I'm done with people using their power, knowledge, privilege, and influence to hurt other people just because those people didn't comply with unacceptable demands and threats. So an attorney filed a counter notification on my behalf, and I am waiting to be served with a notice of legal proceedings. In the meantime, I can no longer give David Gingras the benefit of the doubt or publicly encourage others to listen to him. I will no longer be promoting his videos by showing them or giving them attention. If something significant is said, then I'm happy to talk about it, but I won't be showing it. Now, with all of that in mind, I have some questions for the county attorney. What's the message the county attorney wants to send to all of these people who have been affected by this con artist? What would she say to the woman whose ultrasound was stolen by Laura Owens and used to manipulate and abuse a man into thinking she was pregnant? What would she say to the men whose lives were forced into financial ruin? To people who needed police and waited hours for them to come when police had to check up on a woman who pretended to be suicidal? What message does the county attorney want to send to women who were accused of faking abuse because of people like Laura, or to men who have been falsely accused? Sure, not all of these people will fall under the jurisdiction of Maricopa County, but the people of Maricopa County clearly want this to stop. Every single one of Laura's victims, as well as the people she exploited to further her scam, was worse off for having her in their lives because she's able to have free reign to use the justice system as her personal weapon. I reject that. And Rachel Mitchell should too. Inaction in this case sends a message of ignorance. to how this one case actually exposed injustices against many people, including several members of the public whom Rachel Mitchell serves. Laura Owens is not deluded. She knows what she's doing is wrong, and she continues to do it because she can. She doesn't stop or get help because she doesn't want to. These are conscious decisions. This is happening because they think the county attorney won't bother to do anything about it. But if the county attorney's office does nothing, PS Creative will not be the last victim of this kind of harassment. And Clayton Echard will not be the last man forced into personal and financial distress due to false accusations. So to the county attorney's office, you tell me. Is it more important to protect a person of privilege who is freely abusing the people and businesses in your county? Or does it just not matter that much?